Back in the Sword Palace, Seiya can't help but stare at her uncle in disbelief. After the fight she watched in the afternoon, she can't believe that her uncle got so strong. She almost started feeling bad for the other players since this was basically the same as griefing. So many people also wanted to donate to Jihan's stream, but he had his donation link blocked. That's mostly because he decided to stream out of the blue and didn't set it up beforehand. Since he hasn't set it up yet, Seiya advises Jihan to raise the minimum donation fee. It'll be hard for him to focus if donations keep flooding in. So it'd be best to set it to a high amount so he doesn't get too many donations. Jihan agrees and decides to set it to 10,000 GP, which is 10 million won, as Seiya wonders if 10 million won is actually. Jihan is more focused on thinking about the Shadow Queen epic quest that he received. He has to find this mysterious figure and provoke her, but he can't think of a way to find her in such a big crowd. Seiya notices the concentrated face he's making and asks if he wants her help. Her attitude reminds him so much of her mother, and Jihan smiles at her. Since there's no wrong in it, he gets up and decides to tell her what's been bothering him. He tells her about the epic quest and the Shadow Queen, and even she has no idea who that could be. All they know for sure is that she's in the audience. Seiya decides to watch replays of the matches and look for her in the audience. With her on the case, things should move more smoothly, but Jihan still feels bad that he had to ask her for help. Finding the Shadow Queen would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Now that he has distracted her though, he should have enough time to take care of the settlements that he has been pushing off. With all the achievement points that he has gathered, he buys another class slot. And now it's time for him to add a new class and gain new powers. There are 3 options for him to pick between Warrior, Archer and Mage, and out of them, he decides to become a Mage. As soon as he adds the new class, he starts to feel a new power flowing from his heart. It's different from Divine Power, and it gives him access to new abilities. The reason he chose the Mage class after the Supporter class is because of a unique stat that he can only obtain after having both classes. This new ability is called Force. Before regressing, he used to listen to Baron talking drunkenly. One day, during one of his drunken ramblings, he told Jihan a lot of unnecessary things, like the fact that he would have recognized Jihan as an American if he had been naturalized earlier. But on that day, he also talked about something unusual. He talked about his skill, Force, which he gained by combining Divine Power with mana perfectly. It's not an easy task, and others wouldn't even be able to try it since Baron is the only player in the world with 2 classes. This is something that no one else can obtain, and the only reason the Baron has it is because he has 2 status windows, which is his SSS rank gift. Jihan originally asked if it's alright for him to have this information, but at the end of the day, Baron was confident that he could tell anyone in the world, because he's the only person capable of having 2 classes. He was certainly arrogant, but what he's saying isn't a lie. Force is an overwhelming power that completely dominated space. But now, Baron isn't the only one with this ability. Jihan knows of the requirements, and now he has fulfilled them. This ability is what got Baron to first place in the world rankings despite his terrible control and utilization of it. So if Jihan wants to be prepared for what will happen in the future, then he has to make sure to get this ability for himself no matter what. To gain the power, he needs to concentrate the Divine Power into his hands and direct the flow of his mana from his heart to his hands where the 2 powers can combine. If he can perfectly combine the powers and allow nothing to leak through, then he will achieve it. For a moment, it looks like his attempt worked, but the circling power in his hand sends him flying back into the wall after a short explosion. It looks like he failed this time, and he can't hold on to the power in his hands with strength alone. He must be missing something. Maybe he needs more mana or to be a higher level. But something is definitely missing. The problem is that he can't keep the power in his hands forever. So maybe the problem is where he's gathering the power in the first place. Since he can't hold on to the power in his hands, the next best option would be to keep the power in his body instead. If he can combine the Divine Power which starts in the upper Dantian with the mana from the central Dantian, then he can hold the 2 stable with the power from the lower Dantian anytime they struggle to mix. This should lead to a perfect form where nothing leaks out. If he compresses it in that state, then that should allow him to unlock the new power. He decides to try it out, and the backlash on his body is immense. He can't hold himself back from screaming in pain as the power fills his body. A system notification pops up, informing him that he has begun attempting the unification of the 3 Dantians. However, almost immediately after, a warning pops up, informing him that he has surpassed the limits that he can endure, and if he continues, then he will die. Downstairs, Seiya hears her uncle screaming as the pain overtakes his body, and she gets up to go and see what's wrong. Meanwhile, Jihan is still experiencing the immense pain from trying to fuse the 3 Dantians. In order to do so, and fuse Divine Power with mana to use Force, then he has to use Strength subconsciously in order to consolidate them. The conditions for the unification are very strict, and one needs to be able to perfectly use the 3 which have very different natures. On top of that, All of the person's stats need to be at least 100 to allow the process to go smoothly. If you're far from these standards and try to attempt to unify the three Dantians, then it's possible to lose your life. Seiya runs towards her uncle's room as the sounds of his struggling get louder. She calls for him as she rushes over, but he doesn't answer. Eventually she reaches his room and surprisingly finds him in good condition. He claims that he was screaming like that because he got a headache, but it's obvious that something much worse must have been happening. She clearly doesn't believe him even as he tries to play it off like a joke. And Jihan stops messing around once he notices that she has actually gotten agitated as a result of his actions. Suddenly, Seiya starts crying as she tells him that she really was scared for him. She thought something had happened to him, which is why she ran to his room in a hurry. Jihan realizes that he may have screwed up by not thinking more about Seiya in the moment, but now that he at least seems to be fine, she asks him again if he's really alright. He decides to take it seriously and tells her that he is alright. Then he apologizes for worrying her so much. Seiya cleans the tears from her eyes and smacks him in the chest, trying to pretend that everything is alright now that he seems to be okay. With that, she steps away to go continue looking for the Shadow Queen, and Jihan watches her leave with a smile. He definitely can't show his weak side too often now for Seiya's sake. In other news, the consolidation of the three Dantians failed because he's lacking in both experience and level, but even though that is the case, he still managed to get the power that he wanted. By fusing divine power and mana, Jihan has now been able to exchange them both for the unique stat, which is force. The connecting link between the three Dantians is being maintained weakly, but it's still there. However, looking through his status window reveals something odd. The number for the force stat is weird. He just got the ability now, but it's starting from level 12. Since the link between the three Dantians is being maintained weakly, then the stats for martial power and force will have to share their ability values. That means that if he raises his martial power stat by 1 value, his force stat will also rise as well. He tests it by raising martial power to level 14, and the force stat follows suit, also increasing to level 14. This is pretty much a cheat code. Having force alone is a really good stat, but now he can very easily upgrade it however he wants. If these are the perks he gets from such a weak link, then how Amazon will the benefits of consolidating the three Dantians be? As excited as he is for the huge boost in power, he has to leave it the way it is for now. If he tries to unify them again, he might actually die in the process. Since he has already earned what he wanted, there's no need for him to push his luck too much. Next, he decides to try a mage skill now that he has the class. He calls for a fireball, and a tiny flame pops into existence as the system informs him that he does not have the mana required to maintain large spells. It's an adorable little flame, but he definitely can't use this in battle. The next day, Jihan is woken up by the sunlight entering his window. As soon as he opens his eyes, the system informs him that he has gained 10 divine power, and he cannot obtain divine power from holy items that are D rank and below. From now on, he can only gain divine power from holy items that are C rank and higher. The previous night, he bought 2 items and slept with them beside him through the night in hopes of getting a power boost from them. However, it looks like his limitations have come to catch up with him. From now on, he's going to have to sell what he has left on the second-hand market to make a profit. He steps out of his room and calls out for Seiya to see if she's awake. He gets no answer and goes downstairs to check on her, and finds her sitting on the couch with earbuds in and a laptop on her lap. From the bags under her eyes and her tired expression, it's clear that she pulled off an all-nighter. And she tells him that she spent the entire night looking for the Shadow Queen. Although Jihan feels bad that he had to put her through this, it looks like her efforts weren't totally in vain. She shows him a clip from a channel called Another Species Fan Cam, which is a BattleTube channel that focuses on looking at the other species that appear to spectate their games. They use their gift called Scope, which allows them to zoom in with their streaming cameras. Thanks to them, Seiya managed to find something interesting in the replay from the match that Jihan was in recently. Up in the spectator area, sitting in what seems to be specially made thrones, there are 2 elves that certainly meet the criteria for queens with their high-ranking appearance. One of these elves specifically is a dark elf who certainly looks like she holds some sort of royalty. Jihan agrees that there might actually be some truth in what she managed to find, but it's still too early to draw conclusions. For now, Seiya decides that she's going to continue looking a bit more to see if she can find anything useful among other recordings. Jihan, on the other hand, is sure that a constellation wouldn't be found so easily. Seiya assures him that she will continue looking through more videos, and even some from abroad starting the next day, and the way she speaks sounds almost professional. She even offers to edit some of his videos together for him to post to BattleTube. She knows how to make videos from when she watched her dad's videos for fun. The mention of her dad causes Jihan to freeze and think about him once more. He can't believe someone would really abandon their daughter like this for no real reason. Just 2 days earlier, during his conversation with Yoonsik, the government official revealed that he might know the name of the woman that stole the Sword King away. Her name is Ito Shizuru, and she is the possessor of the SSS rank gift called A Woman of Matchless Beauty. It's possible that Yoon Sejin might have fallen for her skill, and that's also what the government thinks. This is a new development for even Jihan, but the crazy revelations don't stop there. Yoon-sik warns Jihan that the Woman of Matchless Beauty skill goes beyond just mind control and can even have the ability to mold a person's thoughts. Something similar has happened several times before where rising stars of Korea end up naturalizing to Japan. It's very possible that there are no limitations on using the gift, which means that she might appear at any time and try to bewitch another strong player. After that conversation, Jihan kept searching for more information about Ito Shizuru, but it's like the internet has been wiped clean of any trace of her. It's most likely that Japan is being careful while managing her. Because of that, Jihan can't find anything out right now. But if what Park Yoon-sik is saying is true, then Jihan has to try and be pretty careful as well. There's a chance that they have already started moving. Meanwhile, as he's thinking about this, a plane descends into a Korean airport, and on the wing, it's written that the plane belongs to the NEO Self-Defense Force. Eventually, time passes, and it's time for another major event in the small family's lives. Seo waits at the door for her uncle, who seems to be taking his sweet time preparing. If they waste any more time, they're going to end up being late. Eventually, Jihan finishes his preparations and comes out to meet her. His hair is slicked back and styled, and he's dressed in a fancy-looking suit. In this getup, he's definitely ready to meet their new guests. The two of them head into the elevator, and on the way down, Seo is visibly shaken. Jihan tells her to relax and not worry about anything, but Seo can't help being a little bit nervous. This is her first time making an official public appearance after her dad's incident. Jihan tells her that there's no need for them to care what others think, since they haven't done anything wrong. Eventually, they reach the lobby floor of the Sword Palace, and they are met with a large gathering of people. Almost as soon as they exit the elevator, they are met by Park Yoon-sik, who tells them that everything Jihan asked for is ready, so they can go in right away and start the procedure. Jihan thanks the advisor for his help and trusts him to take care of everything till the end of the event. This is the favor that Jihan had asked for back then, when they were discussing the status of the Sword King and his assets. Jihan asked them to organize an auction of the Sword King's collection, where they would sell Yoon Sejin's beloved items and other possessions. The point of this entire auction is to lure Japan over, and Jihan also made sure to choose the specific items of the auction for that purpose too. The main item is Yoon Sejin's battle connector, and all the battle data stored within it. It's likely that if Japan shows up, that is definitely what they will try to take. Depending on the situation, the Sword King himself might step in to try and take the battle connector. No matter what he does though, the Korean citizens will be forced to face the reality that the Sword King is gone and most likely will not be coming back. Yoon-sik silently listens to Jihan's plan and notices that it's almost as if Jihan can see into the future. This is their last chance to change public opinion, and because of that, Jihan asks that they have the reporters pay special attention to the NEO Self-Defense Force table. As they walk towards the main lobby, some people barge into the building and try to call for Seo to stop. The bodyguards at the door stop them, and the group of people declare that they are Seo's family, and they are related to her. These people are her aunts and uncles, and they are here to try and stop her from starting the auction and selling off the Sword King's precious items. They also don't try to hide the fact that they think Jihan forced her into doing all of this. They continue hurling insults at Jihan, but Seo steps up and stops them. After all, her aunts and uncles got kicked out from the Sword Palace in the first place for using her dad's name to defraud other people. She knows that the real reason they are here all of a sudden is because they want to take her dad's money now that he's gone. She knows what she's doing since all that her dad left is hers, and they have no right to argue over it with her. She knows that there's no point talking to them, and with nothing else to say, she turns and walks away from them, ordering the guards to kick them out as fast as possible. As the outsiders continue trying to fight their way in, Jihan compliments Seo on how cool she was just now. She really knows how to stand up for herself despite everything that she has been through. The three of them make it to the lobby hall where the auction will take place, and the area is already packed with news reporters as well as the people who are interested in the items. As soon as they walk through the doors, the reporters immediately start taking pictures of him and trying to ask him questions. They also bombard Seo with endless photographs and questions, not even giving them any time to answer. Jihan is tired of the constant barrage of questions and uses force to shatter the cameras and stop them from working. Now that the noise has finally stopped, Jihan reminds them that they are currently at an auction event, not a press conference. Then, with everyone finally nice and settled, he prepares to start the event. 3 items have been prepared to be given out for this event. The first is Yoon Sejin's Battle Net Connector, which decreases the sense of pain by 99%. It also comes included with all the data saved by the connector. Finally, there is the analysis of battles made by Yoon Sejin himself, an analysis on East Asia's high-ranking players. The Sword King's data is very precious, and the analysis data is going to be really useful, especially since the Korea vs Japan match will be taking place soon. From the murmurs in the audience, Jihan can tell that no one would want to let go of any of these items. A high-end player's analysis data isn't something that you can get anywhere. As soon as he's done talking, someone raises their hand from the audience, and Jihan recognizes them immediately. He introduces himself as Takeda Kazuo, a recruitment manager of Japan's NEO self-defense force. He immediately offers 5 billion yen for all the lots in the auction. On top of that, he also wants to request a private meeting with Jihan and Seiya. His intentions are incredibly obvious, and he doesn't even try to hide what he really wants from this meeting. Jihan doesn't want to play those games and tells the man directly that if there is something he wants to say to them, then he can say it right there in front of everyone. With the recent events that have happened, this isn't really the time and place to accept private meetings. Takeda wipes the sweat from his brow nervously because of the way Jihan is glaring at him. Then he warns our MC that if he keeps acting so aggressively, then someone else might have to step in. Immediately, the bodyguard who was silently standing behind Takeda rushes forward in the blink of an eye and places her sword against Jihan's neck. Her name is Shadow, and although she's not comparable to the Sword King, she's still an amazing player. Their threats aren't even well disguised, but Jihan isn't fazed at all by this blatant copycat of Yoon Sejin. Everything afterwards happened in a flash. 1 second, Shadow's blade appeared in front of Jihan. The next moment, our MC punched her clean in the jaw, causing her to stagger backwards. She falters for a moment, but then her anger takes over, and she prepares to draw her sword, intent for a fight. But Jihan calmly places a hand on her shoulder and reminds her that the auction is being streamed live through his battle tube, worldwide. There's no way that she can swing her weapon while everyone is watching. But Takeda quickly calms the situation down with a laugh and a wave of his hand. Then he personally apologizes for his bodyguard's harshness and apologizes in her stead. But despite that, he still doubles down on his offer of 5 billion yen. And the money must also include the private meeting he asked for. But this time, he wants to hear a response to his offer from Seiya. After all, the Sword King's possessions belong to Seiya right now, so she's the real owner of this auction. He walks past Jihan and goes directly to Seiya, informing her that the private meeting is specifically for her. She should want to know where her father is, and Takeda promises that he will answer any questions she has about him. As Seiya struggles to give an answer, Takeda is completely sure that she will agree. There's no way she can reject this offer to talk to her own father. However, despite his cockiness, she blatantly declines his offer. The response gives Takeda such a shock that he loses some pixels. He can't believe that she would give up 5 billion yen just because of a private meeting. That's the equivalent of 50 billion won in Korean currency. As much as that would be great money, she understands that Jihan is right. They need to be careful because of the times, and if her father is only available for communication through money, the Seiya doesn't want to know anything about him. On top of that, Seiya is a minor, so she has to do what Jihan says at the end of the day. The rest of the audience sighs in relief since they thought that these high-value items would be sold to Japan. They can't let their guard down just yet though, and even though she rejected the meeting, the NEO self-defense force can still offer an absurd amount of money. Takeda takes a small breath and accepts that they have rejected his offer for a meeting. But even if that's the case, he still bids the 5 billion yen for the items anyway. According to him, the private meeting was just an option that Takeda added personally, so there's no need for him to cancel the bid just because he was rejected. He was told to offer 5 billion from the start by the Sword King himself. On top of that, he also hands Seiya a letter from Yoon Sejin that he personally wrote for her. The letter is stamped with a seal from Ito Ryuhei, and just the sight of the new name makes Seiya sad. Then, as Seiya holds the letter, Takeda turns and asks the crowd of Korean BattleNet's concerned parties if they don't have enough money to compete with him. Jihan knows this man's tactics very well. After all, the NEO Self-Defense Forces recruitment manager is someone that was banned from entry into the US in Jihan's past life. He was suspiciously good at recruiting foreign players, and because of that, he was called Japan's Calamity. There's a high chance that he's deeply related to the player that uses the woman of matchless beauty skill. Jihan will need to be wary of him. But by the terms of the auction, since no one is able to compete with the price that has been set, then Jihan has no choice but to sign a contract with the man. The atmosphere is tense, and Japan took the items way too easily, almost as if they were promised them beforehand. This will definitely look bad in the media, and the other people start to wonder what the point of them coming here even was. At this point, Jihan just wants anything to happen. He needs a turning point to change the state of things. Suddenly, Seiya steps up to the microphone and starts to speak. She's reading the letter that Ryuhei sent her directly out to the public, as well as the thousands of people that Jihan is streaming to. He mentions how he heard about her wanting to give away the Sword Palace, and how disappointed he is in her. Then he says that the 5 billion yen is the last asset that he will give to her, and also serves as the end of their relationship as father and daughter. As she finishes reading the letter, she starts to cry, confirming that it really is from him because of his handwriting. Jihan looks away as his niece starts to cry on the stage. He heard that the woman of matchless beauty skill is a form of mental manipulation, which is above the mental conquest skill. This must be true for Yoon Sejin to turn away from his daughter so blindly. Jihan always hated the man, but he was at the very least a very good and dependable dad to Seo. To think that Ryuhei would do something like this to his own daughter. Seo stops crying and immediately tears the letter to shreds. Then she tells Takeda to relay a message to Ryuhei. She has received his assets well, and she is glad to cut off their relations. With that done, she starts to realize that ripping up the paper like this will only make trouble for the cleaners that will take care of the place later. Jihan tells her not to worry, and then uses his force skill to gather up all the paper, before using his fire skill to burn them all. Fire is an obvious mage skill, which makes everyone even more confused about what powers Jihan has. He is known to have a warrior-level combat skill, while also having the mana of a mage, and the divine power of a support. Looking at this powerful man, Takeda can't help but think that he is someone that Japan needs to have on their side. Takeda is not the only one that notices Jihan's talent though. Other recruiters that are also attending the event rush to pass their cards to Jihan, since they know that he is not in any guilds yet, and they eagerly want to recruit him. Jihan is suddenly overwhelmed by the number of people that call for his attention, and as he tries to fend them off, Seo calls out for him from behind. He originally wants to tell her that he will catch up with her later, but then he notices that she looks sick. Then she starts to stagger and falls to the floor, unconscious. Jihan immediately leaves the lobby area and rushes towards Seo. As he holds her frantically in his arms, she eventually wakes up and weakly calls out to him. He tells her that she should hold on while he gets ready to take her to the hospital, but she pulls him closer and whispers in his ear that she's actually faking right now. She thought he was struggling in the crowd, so she decided to put on an act. The guards successfully hold off the recruiters as Jihan tends to say ah on the stage. Now that he knows that she is all right, he can breathe a sigh of relief. But that isn't the same for the people still watching the live broadcast. They watch as Jihan struggles over Seo and blame this entire thing on Ito Ryuhei, who caused her so much stress with such a heartless letter. Now that he has an excuse to leave, Jihan immediately ends the event, using his niece's health as an excuse to leave. Then he helps her stand up and she confirms that she wants to go back to the penthouse and rest. As they are walking away, Takeda still tries to reach out to him, offering his card, and asking if they can be properly introduced later. Jihan doesn't even look at the card, and uses force to grab it from the man's hand and rip it to pieces right above him. That's Jihan's response to any meeting with Takeda, and it's not changing. The recruitment leader of the 4th greatest guild in the world just got rejected by a Korean bronze player. There's no way that Takeda isn't incredibly pissed off. He would be anyway if he wasn't a creep. The man puts on a weird-looking smile and rearranges his tie as he realizes that Jihan really does have true power, a power that can rip a business card out of his hands and tear it to shreds in an instant. He's definitely worth recruiting to Korea just for that one power alone. Yet, he's still a bronze player, which means that he is a rising star that will become even greater in the future. Takeda is even more determined to get Jihan over to his side no matter what. Meanwhile, in the corridor towards the elevator, Seo and her uncle exchange a high five for an acting performance well done. As they continue to chat through the lobby corridor, Jihan unexpectedly gets a donation from someone. Based on the message under the donation, it looks like the sponsor is Takeda, who went out of his way to donate to Jihan even though he turned off the broadcast. The way he talks is also way too creepy to say ah, and Jihan even considers blocking the man despite the generous donation that he received from him. Their conversation is interrupted by a voice calling out to both Jihan and Seo. It's Haeyeon and her bodyguard Gyeong. She introduces herself as the 3rd department head of the Divergent Guild, and although she looks professionally happy to see him, Gyeong doesn't look as thrilled behind her. She apologizes for coming to see him all of a sudden despite the circumstances. Jihan tells her that she's not supposed to have been able to get in unless she is directly involved with them. But she still somehow managed to sneak her way through security. Jihan also notices that her voice seems oddly familiar, almost as if he has met her before. Haeyeon explains that she has deep ties with South Korea's BattleNet department, so it's her connections that helped her find her way into this place. She has a lot of confidence in herself and her attitude almost comes across as shameless. Jihan is sure that he has met someone with that kind of behavior before. As she continues to talk, he finally remembers exactly where he has seen her. She is an old friend from his past life who always wore a mask. Seon notices the stunned expression on Jihan's face and assumes that it is because he has fallen for this new arrival. Jihan, on the other hand, needs to test a theory of his. He quotes something that he has heard from her before in his past life just to make sure. The world is full of possibility. it is difficult to ignore that. This is a quote from the great writer Dostoevsky, known for his gambling addiction. He asks her directly if she likes this quote. Ga-young steps in front of Haeon protectively and demands to know who exactly Jihan is. Haeon's gambling fever is a secret only known to a few people, so an outsider is not supposed to know about it. That is the last bit of confirmation that Jihan needed. This definitely means that Haeon is American First's manager. Zero in his past life was the only other Korean in the guild than him, and she was someone he knew specifically for her love of drinking and gambling. Despite that though, she rose to the second-string guildmaster due to her voice ability. This voice ability was originally a skill that can only give experience buffs, but after the tutorial ended, the growth scope of gift rankings and stats as well as other aspects of the game spread quickly. The voice ability became a highly valuable ability, and the person who was the strongest among the voice users was Zero. In the present though, Zero, now just Lee Haeon, can't help but cringe in pain as her gambling addiction is revealed to these strangers. The Divergent Guild somehow managed to recruit both the Plum Blossom and Zero. That is quite an impressive roster for them to have even in just the tutorial. Jihan quickly covers up his knowledge of her gambling side by telling them that he saw her in one of his live broadcasts before. He tells them that the chat she sent was memorable, and that's why he had to ask. Then he apologizes for surprising them. Haeon clears her throat, hoping to move on from this embarrassing conversation as quickly as possible. As they continue talking, Jihan can't help but smile at her antics, and that only further convinces Se-ah that he must like her. Then Haeon uses the now comfortable atmosphere to approach Jihan more confidently. She tells him that she has a feeling that they will be seeing each other more often, then pulls out her phone and offers it to him. Her goal is clear. She wants to invite him to the Divergent Guild, and she hopes that the two of them can meet again privately. Se-ah can't stop herself from squealing at the new development. It looks like she's about to get a new aunt out of nowhere. Even Haeon believes that she made a lasting impact on Jihan from how she acted, and she glances at Ga-young, who was famously rejected by Jihan in the past. That act would all have been perfect, if not for the fact that Jihan still can't remember what his number is. He turns and asks Se-ah if she can give out her number instead. But Se-ah misreads it and thinks that Jihan is just playing hard to get instead. That's not the case. But she falsely believes that Jihan has some kind of big plan and decides to help him out by pretending to be dizzy and sick again. After noticing that she must want to head back, Jihan apologizes to them and asks Haeon for her business card instead so he can contact her later. Then the uncle and niece continue their walk to the penthouse, with Se-ah falsely believing that her uncle has suddenly turned into a playboy. Ga-young and Haeon start to make their way out of the building, and the bodyguard is visibly shaking after the exchange. Haeon tells Ga-young to stop holding it and just laugh, since she's about to get really pissed off. As Jihan and Se-ah take the elevator back to the penthouse, Se-ah points out that she never expected her uncle to wear her dad's clothes. Jihan can't help it though, since his own clothes don't fit anymore. Besides, it's not like the clothes did anything wrong. The man is the problem, and as long as it looks good on him, then it's fine. Then she asks him about what he did earlier, telling a pretty woman that he forgot his phone number. Jihan has no idea what she's talking about and seems genuinely confused as Se-ah scolds him for pretending to forget his number. But then Jihan tells her that he really doesn't know his phone number and he wasn't playing hard to get. Later on, it's time for another mission to start, and this one is yet another tower defense mission. Just like before, the goal is to guard the crystal and survive the zombie mob. Jihan isn't mentally ready for this mission since he spent so long trying to comfort Se-ah after she realized that she accidentally interrupted her uncle's chance of getting a relationship. She wrongly assumed that Jihan likes Lee Haeon, when he feels nothing romantic towards a gambler like that. Regardless of what he feels towards her though, he never thought he would zero again like this. Back in his past life, they formed a close friendship because they both came from the same country. On their off days, they also bet on sports to pass the time. Zero was very obsessed with bets, and would keep going even if she lost multiple times in a row. It was during their close times together that he heard her use the quote, "she seems so fond of." She also had a facial scar that she refused to erase because she called it a price to pay for making a deal with the devil. They also had a lot in common despite being just refugees, and it caused them to become friends. The biggest thing they have in common was guilt, self-hatred, and regret of failing to protect the people they loved. Jihan bows his head down as painful memories come flooding back to his head. But the flood of comments into his stream snap him back to reality. They also notice the large sword in his hand, which has to be the first normal weapon he has brought to a mission since he started coming into the battle net. This weapon is the C-rank Urk Pontiff's horse-slaying sword, and despite being C-rank, Jihan managed to get it for unexpectedly cheap. Now that he's holding it though, he can see the reason why it's so cheap. It's way too big and heavy for most people to handle. But for him, it's pretty easy for him to use. He swings the sword to get more comfortable with it, and his viewers are obviously in awe at his obvious combat ability. They ask him to show them his status window so they can finally see what his class and stats are. It looks like he has a lot of people watching, so they are starting to request more things. Right now, he already has 12,000 live viewers. Jihan isn't sure he wants to show his status window to the public right now, but he can't ignore them since they are regulars. He decides to be straightforward about it since so many people are curious, and he turns on his mic to talk to them directly. He tells them that he will reveal his status window if they can get his channel to reach 200,000 subscribers. That's a high feat to accomplish since he only has 10,000 right now, but he promises them that he will do it once he reaches 200,000. But then, to make the deal more interesting, he adds one more condition to it, so that they won't complain about it too much. He tells them that if he fails to get first place in any game from now on, then he will reveal his status window as soon as he loses. The deal has the intended effect, and now everyone seems a lot more interested in the challenge than before. They all think that Jihan's game will be over as soon as he gets matched with a troll. Right on cue, the remaining 3 players are summoned as well. As soon as Jihan sees them, he can't believe his terrible luck.